Return to a galaxy far, far away.
Ready, everybody? Let's see what this piece of junk can do.
Here we go again.
Return for the fun of it. Return of the Jedi.
Are you ready for Jedi, Vince?
I am ready for Jedi.
Alright, let's talk Jedi.
Did I sound convincing enough?
Not really, no. I don't think you're ready, Vince.
I feel like I'm ready.
Well, you don't look ready. Get ready.
I'm ready. Let's go. It.
Okay, now you look ready.
Let's do the censored one. All right, I'm ready. Darn it, let's go.
Let's go.
Star Wars: The Complete Saga on Blu-ray.
Star Wars Episode 6, Return of the Jedi.
I know a lot of the fans do not like Jedi, and I have never understood that reason why the fans don't like Jedi.
We're finally completing this saga, by the way. So you were saying a lot of the fans don't care for this movie.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
It's like it's pretty good. That's the my overall opinion, I'd say. Out of the 3 original movies, 4 and 5, it's probably in between 4 and 5, like my second favorite. You know, I liked 5 more better. I think that was the best out of the originals.
I don't know if you remember this or not, but the first time I ever saw the Death Star,
right?
And you were over at my house, and we went to a 7-Eleven, and I saw this magazine sitting there on the rack, and it showed the Death Star being constructed, and it blew my mind. I was like, oh my God, the Death Star. Because back in those days, believe it or not, you could not go back and rewatch a movie 1,000 times because it was either on TV or it had to be on VHS. So when I saw that, my first reaction was, I still remember this to this day, my first reaction was, they didn't blow up the Death Star. Half of it's still there.
I remember that.
You remember that? I was like, Vince, they didn't blow up the Death Star.
I didn't remember it until you just mentioned it, but yeah, I remember that.
You know, now when they show the Death Star blow up, they show the space behind it, but I didn't remember that. Like I said, I couldn't go back and rewatch it 500 times, so I just thought they blew up half the Death Star.
Yeah, like the entire thing didn't actually blow up, like half of it blown away somewhere.
Yeah, that's what I thought happened. And I was so excited. I mean, I was just like blown away excited.
If I remember right, I think it was that picture where you see the Star Destroyer, and you see the Death Star there, and the Star Destroyer is like heading toward it, and you see the shuttle like real small underneath it. And
the other thing I remember when we were kids is the first time I ever saw Jabba the Hutt is, again, you and I were in Kmart. And we were in the toy section at Kmart looking around, and they had Jabba the Hutt sitting there. And I remember seeing him, and I'm like, oh my God, is that what he looks like? I thought it was the most bizarre looking thing I'd ever seen, and that was the first time the action figure of Jabba the Hutt's first time I ever saw him.
Yeah, I actually got that figure. I still have it.
Also, when we were there at Kmart, I believe that's when I bought an R2-D2 that had the telescope. You pushed the thing down, a little telescope popped up.
Oh yeah.
Do you remember the restaurant Buckaroo right across from it?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah, that's where it was. It was next to Buckaroo. It was at a Kmart there.
Yeah, I remember that.
So going down memory lane here, Vince.
Really going down memory lane. That's where I got Luke Skywalker in his black Jedi outfit with the brown robe and the green stick that was the lightsaber. The new lights, and they didn't have the lightsabers coming out of their arms anymore. They had the toothpick looking lightsabers.
I think probably my favorite ship of the Star Wars universe is the Snowspeeder. I've always loved the Snowspeeder, but I would say my second favorite is probably the Imperial Shuttle. I just always love the design of that thing.
Me too. I would say that's my second favorite ship as well. My first favorite has always been the Millennium Falcon.
Of course it's Millennium Falcon.
When I saw the Millennium Falcon for the first time in the original Star Wars, I loved the ship. But Empire Strikes Back made me fall in love with that ship. I mean, I was absolutely, because they showed so much more of it in Empire, and then in Return of the Jedi, it is used to actually go into the Death Star, and that's my favorite ship out of the entire Star Wars saga. And of course, Han Solo, my favorite character out of the saga, flies it. So
all 6 movies, the beginning of Jedi is probably my favorite. When the Imperial shuttle goes up into the Star Destroyer, and you know it lands, and Darth Vader comes out, and he's like, his helmet is buffed as hell, Vince. I mean, he's freaking shiny.
yeah,
and he comes walking out, and all the stormtroopers and stuff are there. And then later in the movie, when the Emperor shows up, and then he kneels in front of the Emperor. Oh my God! You know, I'm getting goosebumps talking about it. That's how much I loved those scenes in that movie.
and I actually got that ship at one point. I don't have it anymore, but I did have the shuttle for a little while, for a long while, but it finally busted. And yeah, we used to set up our action figures and had the Emperor and everything, Darth Vader there, and the Royal Guards, and I love that ship, and I love that scene in the movie.
Those are the other characters, the Royal Guards. Just love them guys. I mean, just a red robe, love the helmet, and it's just a great, great design. It's one of my favorite costumes in Star Wars. Is the Imperial or the Royal Guards. Love those characters.
Is when I first saw those characters, the Emperor and the Royal Guards and Jabba the Hutt. It intrigued me, as I wanted to find out who all these people were. And when I did find out who they were, it was like, wow, because it was like such a mystery around it. They kept the whole ending of this movie and the whole thing of that, you know, the story, they kept a lot hidden so that you wouldn't find it out until now. And of course, they didn't have the internet then, so you didn't have all these stupid rumors going around. Oh, this is happening, and here's a spoiler, and there's that.
I know. Tell me about it. So let's get to the big thing about Jedi that everybody hates.
Ewoks?
Yep.
Yeah, the Ewoks. Now, I'm going to go on record here, Vince, and say I love the Ewoks. I've never had a problem with the Ewoks.
And I would go on that same record and say the exact same thing. I never had a problem with the Ewoks. I loved the Ewoks. I loved Wicket.
I love what they stood for. Was here you have all this technology. You know, you have lightsabers, and you have ships, and you have blasters, and you have robots. And now you introduce a race of creatures who are living basically just by stones and arrows. Plus, they're cannibals. And they're warriors, Vince. What is there not to like about that?
I've never understood the hate. I mean, what's not to like about them, really?
I mean, okay, yeah, they look like teddy bears, but they eat people.
Exactly. Munching teddy bears.
Yeah, they were going to eat Han Solo and Luke Skywalker. They were going to cook them over a fire and serve them to C-3PO. Well, I'm choked up over them. Ewoks got me choked up, Vince.
You're gonna choke on Han Solo?
And I think I'm choking on a Han Solo bone.
Or is that a midichlorian?
Probably got a midichlorian stuck in my throat. Is what it is. All right.
What I really loved about the special effect he added, he made the Ewoks blink, and I guess earlier he never touched that. You know, it gives more of a realistic look, because when I watched it before, they're not blinking. They're just like, you know, you know, not blinking or anything like that.
But yeah, the whole ending of Jedi, come on. I mean, you had like 3 battles going on. You had a battle on Endor with, you know, stones and sticks battling the technology of the Empire. And then you had the other battle that was going on with Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader. And then you had the other battle going on with Lando Calrissian. It was so awesome at the end of that movie. I could not see how a Star Wars fan could not like that. The one thing I remember seeing is, because I think I liked Jedi so much, was because it finally came out and I was older. So it came out in a time where I could actually go and appreciate it and kind of really understood what was happening. I mean, when you're 7 years old and watching Star Wars, it's great, but you don't really understand the concept until you get older. And then when you're older, you can appreciate what you're watching. So I think that's why Jedi is so ingrained into my memory, because how old I was when I went to see it.
To add to that, I would say, for myself, I always looked at these Star Wars films, especially before the prequels, seeing them before the prequels, it was like they got better with each one. I was happier and happier with each one. The whole meaning of the lightsaber battle between Luke and Vader, it was powerful then. But now that I've seen the prequels, it actually means even more than what it did then. Believe it or not, and that's what episode 1, 2, and 3 actually did for the original trilogy.
There, like, the one part where Darth Vader is picking up the Emperor and he says no and picks him up and, you know, carries him to throw him down the wishing well. I just wish George Lucas left all the dialogue alone, in my opinion. You know, that's kind of what Darth Vader would have been thinking at the time, but he couldn't have not said that, because at that moment he was actually thinking about making this choice. It's either saving his son or letting him die.
Well, for myself, this movie was kind of bittersweet a little bit, because with Star Wars and with Star Wars The Empire Strikes Back, both those films I got to see with my grandmother. But with Return of the Jedi, by the time it came out, my grandmother had passed away. So I never got to see it, but maybe once when it came out, and then once when it was re-released.
And one thing you mentioned, Vince, was the new trilogy that Lucas made didn't feel like Star Wars. There was something about the movies that were off, and they didn't have the Star Wars feel. The weird thing about all three of these films is that they were directed by all three different people, but they felt like Star Wars. I mean, when you saw it, it felt like, it's hard to explain, it was Star Wars. It felt like that universe.
Well, I always got the Star Wars feel from the prequels, but not like this one. This trilogy, it felt like it was a real place. The prequels, to me, felt like, okay, that's in the Star Wars universe, there's Star Wars things happening, but because there was so much like CGI in it, it didn't feel real. It didn't look as real. It didn't feel like, okay, that's the Star Wars place I remember going to. And I remember saying that with Empire Strikes Back, with our review of Empire. Like I said, it felt like a real place. Return of the Jedi felt the same way, and I didn't get that out of the prequel trilogy.
I didn't either. So let's give our reviews. This movie gets the bomb.
Is that because it's just so up there, or is it just, you know, it just the bomb? What was that?
That was it, Vince. That's what it got.
Okay, well, of course, my review for this it's quite simple. I loved it. It was fantastic. It was a great wrap-up to what I thought at the time was the Star Wars universe and the saga, but I was wrong. And I would also give it the bomb!
I bet you weren't prepared to face a force of that magnitude.